Hey, welcome. Welcome everybody to Blazing Cat Fur Fridays. This is Occam's Razor, where we do a cold read through of the best news aggregate for people who think just like me. I'd like to thank VCF for posting these live streams and for his tireless commitment to publishing a site for going on close to 20 years. Did you know that he has a news feed? Yes, he does. It's off his site. And if you go here, you will see that he eats this continually on his site. And as well, up here, if you go to his site and you do a quick refresh, there we go. Ah, we're here. And you go to his blog roll, you will see right here another link for live updates. And I think I hit the wrong page. There we go. Live blog roll is just out here before the ad. There you go. And you can get the news to date. All right, let's hit the site and see what's going on today. Let's go back here. There we go. One more. Another quick hit. And let's get started. The rapist, pedophiles, and terror offender spared prison while Lucy Connolly was jailed. Among the criminals handed shorter sentences than Lucy Connolly are a rapist, terror offender, domestic abuser, and pedophiles. Miss Connolly, 42, a former childminder, was released on Thursday after serving more than 300 days behind bars. She was jailed for 31 months after pleading guilty to one count of inciting racial hatred contrary to Section 19(1) of the Public Order Act of 1986 over a hastily deleted post on X shared in the aftermath of the Southport killings. And this is where the two-tier stuff has started pretty well in the UK when people are being jailed for hurty words. Now, she did say something rather, and she deleted it right away, but that didn't matter. The thought police had to jail her. This is going to lead to the downfall of the Reform Party, along with all their other policies. WTF? And Polly says here, yikes, as she tags Blazing Cat Fur on this post. And what is this about? Be on the lookout for the following individuals in Islington, Nashville Road, in Kleinberg. Female, black, slim build, wearing winter coat, black bomber, black hat with white logo lettering, animal print bandana with long braids, and a large tattoo on her left. And what is she doing? What is she holding there? Let's see what this is. And it comes up. Here we go. What's going on here?
Point. I own it.
You own what?
I own this house. I do own this house. Yes. I own this house. You're here legally. You are here legally.
Right there.
Yes.
She slashed the tires.
It's not even slashed. I couldn't even break through yet.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I have your.
What is
One of
going
them.
on?
So they're calling right now. They're online
Good.
right now.
I know. That's the whole point. I own it.
You own what?
What's going on in Canada? This is insane. Absolutely insane. And, what are the cops going to do? Nothing. Arrest her, let her out. Zwagstra. More money won't fix Ontario's school violence problem. That's right. The kids will soon be back in school. And according to new data from school boards across Ontario, the number of violent incidents in schools has increased by 77% since 2018. In fact, in 2023 to 2024, the latest year available data, school boards reported 4,424 violent incidents. Four of the five school boards with the highest number of violent incidences are in the Toronto area. The fifth is in Ottawa. Well, people don't learn. We know that every time people enact socialist policies, violence always increases in society until they have complete control and then they just shut everything down and not let anybody have freedoms. But this is how they do it. They slowly destroy the society so that they can bring in totalitarian rule. And of course, the easiest way to do this is by destroying the education system and allowing the kids to run rampant. And let alone, I'm wondering how many immigrant kids are going into school who have not been exposed to our values and think that violence is a normal reaction. Then again, what are they teaching kids in school? They're teaching them that anything they disagree with is violence. Well, who knows? From refugee helper to AFD voter, YouTuber explains her political shift. Nicole Blair, a 36-year-old YouTuber, once worked actively as a refugee helper, has explained why she now votes for Germany's right-wing opposition party, Alternative for Deutschland. In 2015, during the height of the migration crisis, she spent time in Budapest where she saw families camping without food or shelter. Back in Germany, she threw herself into volunteer work, donating blankets, teaching children, arranging housing, and supporting newcomers. I was totally passionate. I want to be a good person, she told the Schweiz Bish Zhuting. I probably didn't pronounce that right. Yes, so I guess people are finally waking up to what's happening in their country. Well, yeah, blasts Carney record unveils plan to tackle crime costs of living. I don't see how Canadians can't see what the hell is happening to Canada since 2015 under these people. And if anybody's been on X and looking at this clown's posts, constantly saying, "Our new government, our new government, our new government, this new government." Yeah, there's nothing new about these clowns. In fact, they're spending even more than the prior liberal incarnation that has been ruining this country since 2015. Ernie speaks at a Muslim Brotherhood function. Oh, that's what this photo's from. Yes, you can see the MAC in the back here, Muslim Association of Canada. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre delivered a scathing critique of Prime Minister Mark Carney's government on Tuesday, accusing the Liberals of worsening Canada's housing crisis, driving away investment, and failing to address rising crime across the country. You know what Liberals say every time you point out these problems? They keep saying, "Why are you being so divisive? Why, we need solutions, not division." Well, you can't have a solution unless you identify the problem. And I think we know what the problem is. It's liberals. Speaking in Surrey, BC, Poilievre argued that life has become increasingly expensive, increasingly dangerous, and less pleasant. Less pleasant. That's an understatement. Since Carney took office, arguing that Prime Minister has doubled down on failed Liberal policies. Indeed, they have. And so has Fat Trudeau over here in Ontario, doubling down on his EV nonsense. Oh, speaking of Fat Trudeau, Doug Ford slams Stelco winner for supporting Donald Trump. "I got a problem with that guy," he says. "Trump is worse than Hitler." Oh, nice sign. Nice sign, BCF. At Premier Doug Ford rolled out, sorry, as Premier Doug Ford rolled out, as he rolled down the hill, rolled out 70 million to help steelworkers affected by U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs. He insisted, "We aren't going to kiss his backside." Doug. A feisty Ford also fired a salvo Wednesday at the head of Cleveland Cliffs, the American parent company of Stelco, for endorsing Trump's trade war with Canada, or against Canada. "I love the workers, but their owner, I got a problem with that guy," the premier said of Cleveland's Cliffs president and CEO Lorenco Goncalves. Goncalves? Ford always knows the right things to say. Indeed, he does. This guy is a moron. You don't I've said it before, you don't attract flies. Vinegar, you attract them with honey. The US is our biggest trading partner. Obviously, the CEO knows what's good for his workers, knows what's good for his company, knows what's good for the future of the industry. Politicians don't. They're ramming something down our throats that Canadians do not want. And he's the guy saying that the other guy is the problem. People who work, as politicians, you need to work with other politicians even if you're ideologically opposed to them. That's what you're hired to do. You're not hired to be calling everyone else Hitler or names or anything else and pissing them off and making things worse. But then again, he is Fat Trudeau, and he's pretty well copying the exact same policy as the Liberals, which makes Fat Trudeau a Liberal. Stop tolerating the toxic ideas of black radicals. Social media has an annoying habit of ablating any remaining desire for good intellectual hygiene. So I recently clicked on a video of Joy Reid. Oh, that was a mistake. Since being dumped from MSNBC, Reid has been making the podcast rounds. And the 40-second clip is Vintage Reed. She accuses white people, writ large, let's hope that your new pad here, writ large of not being able to invent anything, rewriting history, and caps it off with a bizarre rant about Elvis. That, well, completely rewrites history. Well, let's have a look at that. Oh, did we get it? There's the Federalist. Do they have a link to the video? Ah, yes, they do.
They can't fix the history they did. Their ancestors made this country into a slave hell. But they can clean it up now because they got the Smithsonian. They can get rid of all the slavery stuff. They got PragerU. They can lie about the history to the children. They can't originally invent anything more than they ever were able to invent good music. We black folk gave y'all country music, hip hop, R&B, jazz, rock and roll. They couldn't even invent that, but they have to call a white man the king because they couldn't make rock and roll. So they have to stamp the king on a man whose main song was stolen from an overweight black woman.
I just did it again. Let me start that back over. I just had my mic off. Pakistan, the horrifying plight of minority children. According to the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, there are 51 Muslim majority countries, yet none of them treats non Muslim communities with respect and dignity. The brutality that Muslim regimes and societies inflict on non Muslims is extreme, and children are often the target. When it comes to discrimination against non Muslim children, including Hindus and Christians, Pakistan is one of the most radical and alarming cases. Indeed, it is. The international community hardly ever reports on the crimes that happens in Pakistan, one of the dirt poor nations on the planet, with nukes, by the way. And there are areas that are pretty well ungovernable. We pretty well just have to let the local people run their own laws. And usually those are in Pashtun areas. The radical Sunni uh, aspect of Islamic ideology is well, it's not heretical at all. They follow it as closely to the word of Islam as they can, which means that what my left hand possesses, or is it what my right hand possesses? What my right hand possesses, that's where these children fall into. They are basically slaves. They treat anyone else who isn't Islamic as second-class citizens, and if they don't fall under one of the categories as the people of the book, which would be Christians, Zoroastrians, and Jews, then everyone else is pretty well open to be dealt with however they feel, because they are the masters of their country, of their Islamic nation. And that's how Islamic laws work. So this is not surprising. This has been going on since Muhammad went to Medina. All right. Joel Kutkin, the case for defanging Ottawa. That's a nice picture of Count Carney. When globalism was hot, then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau tried to be hotter by deciding that Canada has no core identity, no mainstream, and suggested Canada had become a post-national state. That's right. And then he proceeded for the next 10 years to do exactly that to Canada. Now that nationalism is back in vogue, Prime Minister Mark Carney, unwilling or unable to counter US President Donald Trump's taunts, and tariff barrage, has become an odd recipient of Canada's quest for a US like identity, a national identity. Even as he rails against America's temperamental chief executive, he has shown little interest in curbing his country's own protectionist policies. That's right, because the Liberals They run their ideology and their identity on being a victim and through incorporating hate, that you ensure that you have somebody else to focus your anger on, to call someone else a name, to make sure that you vent anything that you feel emotionally wrong with yourself. You have to now have a target. So the liberals always provide that. So they did that during the last election with the orange man, and they can't let that one go because they know that's their ace in a hole. This will magically erase all their past crimes, all their past inequities, all their past failures. If we can just keep the population focused on that single crisis only the liberals can solve. And this works really well. Works super well amongst the liberals because they have been trained this way. They've been trained to fear so that their fear narrative hits, triggers their mind, and then you get a reaction out of them. And the instant reaction is that they have to point hate towards somebody. They have to find somebody else who is the cause of all their problems. Until this changes, these clowns will probably get in power again. No matter how much national core identity we have, because Canada no longer has an identity unless you want to liken it to a dumpster fire. Putin's trapped how Russia plans to split the Western alliance. A 2 minute and Putin. Oh, I'm not familiar with that. It's a nice mural. Though you wouldn't know from the smiles around the table at the White House this week, a trap has been set by Vladimir Putin designed to split the United States from its European allies. In Washington on Monday, Europe's leaders, plus Sir Keir Starmer and Vladimir Zelensky, agreed with Donald Trump that the killing in Ukraine should and can be ended as soon as possible. They lavished praise on Trump for reaching out to the Kremlin despite having themselves treated Putin as a pariah for the past 3 years. And they even enthusiastically applauded the notion of security guarantees similar to NATO's Article 5, all for one, for all, mutual defense clause, as a way to safeguard Ukraine's border in the future. Oh, God, not another non Article 5 mission. So, people are not familiar with Article 5 of NATO. Article 5 of NATO was employed, or I guess not employed, for peacekeeping or peacemaking missions in Bosnia Herzegovina. They called it a non Article 5 mission, although it was all the same things as Article 5 that they did. Basically, deploying your troops, non Article 5. Article 5 is basically that you help out your other NATO nations and you provide this service. But because Bosnia Herzegovina was not a NATO nation, they had to say it non Article 5. So they'll probably do the same thing here in Ukraine. If they ever get peace, we don't know. The mustached, the mustached neo-Nazi in a woman's prison. Oh God, of course, this is a real thing, isn't it? Look at a photograph of a German neo-Nazi, Stephen Liebich, and the first thing you'll notice is his thick handlebar mustache. So why, then, is this convicted, obviously male fascist about to be sent to a women's prison? That's not a handlebar mustache, boys. That's a porn stash. Now, the way it goes all the way down like this, a handlebar mustache is when you wax it and you pull it all the way out. Fake journalism. What's next for conservatives now that Polyev is back in parliament? Oh, by the way, I know that because I actually grew one for a while. When I was a master corporal and an instructor, I decided that I would grow the wax mustache. And I got to tell you, when the little things are dangling and you're slamming your foot down on the ground and making the drill movements, it's pretty impressive. What's next for the conservatives now that Polyev is back in parliament? With their leader back in parliament, the Conservatives are better positioned to challenge the governing Liberals, drawing on Pierre Poilievre's parliamentary experience and increased media attention, although the Liberals' post-election honeymoon still presents the Tories with added challenges. These honeymoons they're talking about are all from skewed polls. I doubt they're actually talking to real Canadians. Prime Minister Mark Carney and his Liberal government have enjoyed high level of support post-election as trade tensions with the United States continue. So this thing here, positioned to challenge the in parliamentary experience. So this is what is going to happen when they go back in the fall. Carney is going to show up the first day, then he's going to walk out. He might even be present a few times, but what most Canadians don't realize is that the Prime Minister, he doesn't actually have to sit in Parliament unless he wants to be there for a vote. He can step out at any time, and he has. As soon as they got elected, Carney, I don't think he spent more than an hour in Parliament. He would continually walk out. Now, you will see the opposition members ask questions of the Prime Minister, and you will see other members of the government stand up and answer for him. Every time that happens is because the PM is no longer in the House taking questions, which means he's going to do the same thing. He's not going to stick around and be berated by Pierre. He's going to, I don't need to be here. I'll let my other clowns handle these questions. And his other clowns, they're not going to answer any questions, right? Because they will answer with non answers or they'll answer about something else because that's all they ever do. That's what we're going to see. So we're going to see a lot of really good questions, things being brought up by the Conservatives. What I hope to see this fall is actually that the Conservatives will stop asking the same bloody question over and over and over again, knowing that they're never going to get an answer, when they could be asking other questions to expose the government, all the crap that they've been doing for the past 10 years. Maybe one of the first questions they will ask will be, hey, where are all those SDTC documents outlining the $500 million in expenses that you people have blocked out that the Speaker of the House ordered the Liberals to produce in June 2024, which they refused to, which kept us from doing any business in a lower house until the election. But not to worry, apparently those documents are going to come back up in committee. Committees that are now being run by the Conservatives, and the Liberals will no longer have a majority to be able to shut down these committees and stop them from investigating their buffoonery. White pro Palestine protesters melt down after cop accuses her of cultural appropriation for wearing a keffiyeh scarf. What? A pro Palestine protester was caught in a furious meltdown after a police officer accused her of cultural appropriation. The moment was caught on video at Union Station in Washington, D.C., amid protests reacting to a visit by Vice President J.D. Vance and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. After being asked if her scarf was culturally appropriation, the protester reacted in shock and argued that she was just trying to stop the genocide. Well, let's see if we can play this.
Appropriation. By wearing a scarf that is trying to stop a genocide. You think that's appropriating a culture? Okay, in what way? How is that appropriating Palestinian culture? How is my wearing a keffiyeh appropriating Palestinian culture? Tell me. You're the one who said it. You're the one who said I was appropriating Palestinian culture by wearing a keffiyeh scarf. I support Palestinians. And so I am appreciating Palestinians and agree. How is wearing a scarf given to me, in fact, by my Palestinian friends because I stand in solidarity against the genocide?
Oh, I just had my mic off again. Okay, let's try that again. I wanted to thank the cop for doing this because I don't think he actually believes in what he's saying. I think he's just having her on because he realizes how ridiculous things are. All right, America takes a stand for the rights of Western Christians. The U.S. State Department has once again sent the United Kingdom a clear warning. The ongoing persecution and prosecution of praying pro-lifers will not be tolerated. Their annual United Kingdom 2024 Human Rights Report opens with an ominous conclusion. The human rights situation worsened in the United Kingdom during the year. The report noted specific areas of concern, including safe access zones, limiting speech rights around abortion clinics. Oh, yeah, free speech zones again. These restrictions on freedom of speech could include prohibitions on efforts to influence others when inside a restricted area, even though prayer or silent protests. The stark rise in anti Semitism is also cited. So, the same thing is happening in Canada. I don't know if anybody's been following the Christian singer that the mainstream media keeps referring to as the MAGA guy, the MAGA guy. It's okay. I I'm not into those spiritual events, right? But they are safe Christian events. People go there, they come back feeling happy. There's never any violence. They pick up after themselves. But community after community, their bureaucrats running them or their elected officials are banning Christians from holding assemblies that they had previously set up in their communities because they're concerned about open quote safety, close quote. Safety. Safety. See this woman here? She's being arrested for thought crimes because of what she's thinking. That's what's coming to Canada. And as a matter of fact, we know it's already here. We know that Tamara Litch and Chris Barber are coming up for their conviction, and we're going to see how much time they want to put them in the clink for what they did. And this is all part and parcel of the same thing that is happening in Canada. We see this reflection in all the Western societies that were taken over by these radical socialists, slowly bringing about totalitarian response. Also, I'd like to mention there was a video yesterday by John Dixon, or is it Mark Dixon? No, not Mark Dixon. I'll get I'll get the name right. Not Dixon. It was somebody else. John. I should have remembered. Anyway, there's a very good breakdown as to everything that's been going on in society and what the end goal is. And I think I'll dig it up and I'll stick it in the description section if you want to go look at that video because what they're predicting is exactly what we've been warning about. Exactly what we've been warning about. Well, we are at the end of the page. I thank you all for coming out and having a listen. Obviously, just a few technical details this week. Last couple of weeks, completely screwed up the podcasts. I didn't have the mic on, didn't have the proper visuals on. At least this week, things seem to be working a little better. And next week, if I can get this figured out, we will be streaming from Rumble Studio because I do now finally have over 100 followers. So I got to get off my butt and start setting up the chat because that's how things work when you roll in Rumble. All right. Thank you all for coming out, and we